B is relatively prime to B. Whatever we have done with PA, we can also do with PB. Okay, but recall that we have already proved that P is equal to PA, PB. So now using these things, we can say something about the relationship between the orders of these three groups, P, PA and PB. And the precise result is, the precise consequence is this, that order of PA times order of PB should be equal to order of P. Okay. So let us see now how we can conclude that. Now, order of PA divides order of P because it's a subgroup, and order of P is equal to AB. So order of PA divides AB, and these two are relatively prime. So by a previous result from section 1.3, we conclude that order of PA must divide B. We must have similarly, order of PB must divide A. Okay. Okay, now what can we conclude from these two divisibility relationships? Since A and B are relatively prime and these two things divide respectively B and A, so these two things must also be relatively prime. Since A and B are relatively prime, we thus conclude that these two orders are also relatively prime. Okay. Now, order of the intersection of these two subgroups divides both the orders and hence the intersection must be equal to the subgroup consisting of only the identity element, that is, its order should be 1, because it's a common divisor of order of P and order of PB, which are relatively prime. So that means this should be equal to 1. Hence, order of P is equal to order of PA/PB. This is coming from the fact that P is equal to PA/PB, which we have already proved, and this is equal to, by our familiar formula, order of PA times order of PB divided by order of PA intersection PB. So this is equal to order of PA times order of PB. we wanted to prove this. What have we proved here? Let us summarize. Summarize means let us just see. If we have a finite abelian group P whose but it's not over. Okay, let me just say one more thing. We have proved this. Fine. Now we can conclude even more from this. We are able to now prove that order of PA is actually equal to B and order of PB is actually equal to A. Now AB is equal to order of P. This is equal to order of PA times order of PB, and this implies A divided by order of PB times B divided by order of PA is equal to 1. Okay, now look at this divisibility relations. This one divides B, that means this is a positive integer. Just like that, since this one divides B, this is also a positive integer. Since OPA divides B and OPB divides A, the above equation implies order of PA is equal to B and order of PB is equal to A. Okay, now we can say what we have achieved. P is an abelian group which is finite such that its order is expressible as a product of two positive integers, both of which are greater than 1 and they are relatively prime. Then there exist subgroups of P, one of order A and another of order B, such that their product is actually equal to the whole group. That's what we have proved here. Now this result will be used to solve the actual exercise. Let us see how. Now we write in a new paragraph. If we now have to prove, we have two subgroups H and K of orders M and N respectively. So we need a subgroup whose order is the LCM of M and N. So if the LCM of M and N is equal to 1, then it's trivial. This is a subgroup of G whose order is the LCM of M and N. So assume this is greater than 1. So that means this is the positive integer greater than 1. So by the fundamental theorem of arithmetic, it will have a prime factorization. Let And keep in mind the fundamental theorem of arithmetic we have already proved in the third section of the first chapter, which treats integers. So let this be equal to p1 to the power k1, p2 to the power k2, say ps. Oh, we have already taken s and t. Let us take r, pr to the power kr be the prime factorization of the LCM, where P1, P2, etc. up to PR are distinct primes and K1, K2, etc. up to KR, these are positive integers. Okay, I need some ink. Positive integers because there is no point in taking non-negative integers. If some ki is equal to 0, the corresponding prime is not there. Integers. Okay. Then, okay, now look at this prime factorization and think of m and n. Since this is the LCM of m and n, so the prime factors of both m and n are from among these primes. It cannot be something else which has not been listed here, because since this has to be a multiple of both m and n, every prime factor of m as well as every prime factor of n has to divide this number. That means it has to appear here somewhere. In other words, the prime factors of m are primes from this list. It may happen that, say, P1 does not divide m. That may happen, but we cannot have a prime factor of m which is none of these primes. That cannot happen. Okay. Since this is a common multiple of m and n, we must have, we can write m in this, as an expression like this: p1 to the power alpha 1, p2 to the power alpha 2, pr to the power alpha r, and n is equal to p1 to the power beta 1, p2 to the power beta 2 up to pr to the power beta r, where alpha 1, alpha 2 up to alpha r, beta 1, beta 2 up to beta r are integers, but not just any integers, they are special types of integers. Integers which will make the LCM of m and n equal to this. Such that is less than or equal to ki 0, theta I is less than or equal to ki for all I lying between 1 and r, to allow for the possibility that some of these primes may not be actually there in as a factor of m. We are writing 0 less than or equal to alpha I. Some of the alpha i's are allowed to be 0. The corresponding primes will not be there in the, if you want to call it, the factorization of m. Okay. Note one more thing. It may happen that all the alpha i's are 0, making m equal to 1. That is also possible. The only thing we have to make sure is that the LCM of m and n should not be equal to 1. That is, both m and n are not equal to 1. Okay, so here we have the, provision for all the possibilities. In fact, from that exercise where we were asked to find the GCD and the LCM of two integers whose factorizations are given, if you recall in section 1.3, there we have come across this formula. Ki is equal to LCM. Okay, so that means Ki is the maximum of alpha I and beta I for all I lying between 1 and r. See the exercises at the end of section 1.3. I say exercises because I don't remember the exact number of the exercise that I am talking about. You go to that section, you will understand what we are saying here. Okay. So now this is fine. So far we have just written some things that are related to only this LCM and its prime factorization. But now we can use the result which we proved in the previous paragraph. Okay. Exactly how are we going to use the result? You see, if we have a finite abelian group P whose order is expressible in this form as a product of two integers, both of which are greater than 1 and they are relatively prime, then there exist subgroups PA and PB, or there is no need to actually use these things. There exist subgroups, say P1 and P2, of orders exactly equal to A and B respectively, such that P is equal to P1, P2. This is the result we have proved, and we are now going to use this result to express the subgroups H and K as each one of them as a product of still smaller subgroups. we have H, right? Now H is an abelian group, and we already know that order of H is a finite abelian group, and its order is this. Sorry, it's not K1, it's alpha 1, alpha 2 up to alpha R. Okay, we start with the first prime. If alpha 1 is equal to 0, then you can write H in this way: H1 times some group, say we can call it, say, R, such that H1 is equal to E and order of R is equal to this. Because in this case, if this is equal to 1, actually P1 is not there, then H is equal to R. That's what we mean. But if alpha 1, this is if alpha 1 is equal to 0. If alpha 1 is not equal to 0, then two cases arise. The rest of the number is either equal to itself is equal to 1, which is precisely when all the other alpha i's are equal to 0, or that is also greater than 1. So one case is this, that alpha 2, alpha 3, all these things are equal to 0, and the other case is that at least one alpha I is non-zero, where I lies between 2 and R. So there are two cases. In this case, what will happen is that order of H is equal to P1 to the power alpha 1. Okay. In the other case, you are able to write order of H as a product of two integers A and B, such that A and B are both greater than 1 and they are relatively prime. Why are they relatively prime? Because these are P1, P2, PR, all these are distinct primes. So there is no common factor between this number and this number other than 1. And by applying the result proved in the previous paragraph, H will then be expressible as a product H1, H2, where H1 is a subgroup of order this and H2 is a subgroup of order this. Okay. In this case also we are able to write H as H1, H2. Here H1 is a subgroup of order this and H2 is the trivial group consisting of only the identity element. And in fact in the first case also we have been able to, we can call it, say, H2. H as a product of H1, H2, where H1 has this order where alpha is 0 and H2 had that order. So in any case we are able to express H as a product of two subgroups, one of whose order is this and the other one has this order, and then you continue this process with that second group H2. That can be expressed as a product of a subgroup of order this and another subgroup whose order is the rest of the product, and you continue this process. Ultimately you will be able to write H1 in this form, where order of H, H in this form, where order of H1 is P1 to the power alpha 1, order of H2 is P2 to the power alpha 2, and so on. Okay, I hope you understand this part. It's slightly difficult to put in words. Shall I include it in the solution? Bills has not included it in his solution. I mean, his solution is extremely short, so it took a lot of time for me to understand what he is trying to say. But this part is the real thing. I mean, after having that result proved in the previous paragraph, this is actually something that we need to consider in our mind. The thing is that H is expressible in any case as a product of subgroups of these particular orders. Okay, so I am not going to make it a part of the solution. You understand all the cases and how we can use the previous paragraph result again and again to get to this. So we are, in short, we are just simply going to write this, what Bills has written. Okay. Since order of H is equal to M, this is equal to P1 to the power alpha 1, P2 to the power alpha 2 up to PR to the power alpha R. The result proved in the previous paragraph implies, how it implies these things we have already seen. Okay, we are not going to repeat it. Implies there exist subgroups H1, H2 up to HR of H such that H is their product. And order of HI is equal to Pi to the power alpha I for all I lying between 1 and R. Similarly, we can write an expression for K. Similarly, there exist subgroups K1, K2, etc. up to KR of K such that K is their product and order of Ki is equal to Pi to the power beta I for all I Note that if H turns out to be the identity group, I mean the group consisting of only the identity element, then alpha 1, alpha 2, these are all 0, and all the HIs are also the identity group, the trivial group. Okay. Now define for I. Okay, that thing I must include. Now for I lying between 1 and R, define H, let us call it L, Li to be equal to, okay, I must be careful here, maximal, Li is equal to Hi if Hi is associated to the alphas. If alpha I is greater than or equal to beta I and is equal to Ki if alpha I is less than beta I. Now, since G is abelian, the product L of these Li's, note that whatever the case may be, for each I, Li itself is a subgroup of G, because it is either Hi or Ki, which after all are subgroups of G. So this product is a subgroup of G. Now the main thing is to calculate the order of this subgroup, and in doing so we are going to take the help of again that what is that? I am forgetting everything. The formula which calculates the product of two subgroups, their order, that thing we are going to use. Now order of L is equal to order of L1, L2, Lk. So this by our formula is equal to order of L1 times order of L2 Lk divided by L1 intersection L2 Lk. Now note that I think before considering the general case I should have shown the particular case where we have only say two subgroups. So instead of doing this cumbersome calculation, we look at this one, L1, L2. Order of L1, L2 is by our formula this. Now L1 is either H1 or K1. So that means order of L1 is either equal to P1 to the power alpha 1 or P1 to the power beta 1. Like that, L2 is either H2 or K2, and as such its order is this or this. Whatever the case may be, the orders are relatively prime. That is because the primes are different, P1 and P2. So that's why you should be able to see that this order will be equal to 1. L1 and L2 are two subgroups, L1 intersection L2 is a subgroup of both L1 and L2. So its order should divide these numbers as well as these numbers, either this one or this one. Since P1 and P2 are different primes, so this order should be equal to 1. So this is equal to order of L1, L2 divided by 1. So that is equal to order of L1 times order of L2. In bracket we can write, note that order of L1 is equal to this or P1 to the power beta 1, and order of L2 is equal to P2 to the power alpha 2 or P2 to the power beta 2. Since